So the favorites, now let's talk about the least favorites. I'm John Redland with my top 10 least favorite AEW wrestlers in year one. Tag teams will count as one, and much like the favorites list, these are just, ones that I don't particularly care for. Doesn't mean that their in-ring work is necessarily bad, but my opinion. That doesn't mean that, I'm any more right or wrong than you guys in the comment boxes there. Please let me know your least favorite wrestlers. And some of these may surprise you. Now, in the case of some of these, it does have to do with their in-ring work, and some of them actually aren't bad in the ring, but I just don't like them, and some of them are absolute dog shit. So, without further ado, we'll go with honorable mentions first, so let's do 3 of them. Orange Cassidy, don't really care for the character, said that as much. Matt Hardy, I don't have any desire to see Matt Hardy in the ring anymore. I'm glad that he's okay and on the mend after that scary bump it all out, but I haven't wanted to see Matt Hardy in a wrestling ring for about the last 5 years. He's been washed. Jeff's been washed. They really need to hang it up soon. Credit to them for trying to reinvent themselves, but fucking hell. Matt Hardy needs to hang it up before something bad happens. Big Swole, sorry. I mean, she has an inspirational story and great for her. She overcame a horrible disease, horrible illness, and has made a wrestling career out of it and has been able to do what she feels are some good things. And that's great. She hits a great roaring elbow. That's it. None of her promos, especially like on AEW Dynamite, are any good. I just don't find her interesting. That tooth and nail match, I didn't really care for because her and Britt Baker put on one of the worst matches, period, of this year. It was cinematic bullshit, and it's some of the worst cinematic wrestling. And this, mind you, is coming from the same person that watched all the all the WWE cinematic matches, and this one ranks right up there with the worst. Just fucking hell. Number 10, Chuck Taylor. Don't care for the guy. He's one of the worst tag team wrestlers I've seen. Trent kind of can cover up a few of his weaknesses, but he's just not very good. He wasn't good in New Japan. He isn't good in AEW. He's not fearsome. He's not believable. He looks like somebody's drunk uncle or drunkle. Shout out to the Durbinator for that one. And Chuck Taylor just isn't very interesting. He's also not very good. Thank God he's wearing a fucking shirt in the ring right now, but just... And look, it's one thing for me or other fans to wander around, like we wander around our houses without a shirt. We're not going to go on video and do that kind of shit. And if we do, we're fucking morons. Chuck Taylor is, apparently a pro wrestler, and he doesn't fucking look like it. Not even close. It's not even like he tries to do it. He just literally looks like an out-of-shape retail worker. And I know something about being an out-of-shape retail worker. I've been one for 20 fucking years. But yeah, I don't like Chuck Taylor. Number 9, the Young Bucks. Oh boy, here we go. I recognize the Young Bucks put on one of the best matches facing off against Omega and Page at Revolution. And when they want to, can add some good psychology and can add some good shit to their matches. Or they could do the flip-de-doo-dah bullshit gymnastics crap like they did with the Lucha Bros, which is a spectacle, and I don't fucking remember any of it. I just zoned out on it. They have great, they have a great amount of fans. They do incredible with their merch. They're right-wing nut jobs and they're crackpots and everything, and they deserve to be ridiculed for a lot of, sensitivity. Like, oh, they're so sensitive, they don't like negativity. They got all of a sudden left Twitter after that Dark Order debacle. Remember the end Dynamite last year? Remember that? Remember when Dynamite ended because it wasn't going to be on Christmas? They did that thing with the Dark Order. Don't worry, I'll mention the Dark Order here in a bit. The Young Bucks were part of that and apparently didn't like the criticism. Now, that being said, they can put on some great matches, as I mentioned, and they can do some good stuff. I just don't find them interesting. 10% of the time I'll find them interesting. A lot of times I'm like, that stuff they did with Paige where they were pretending to cry, it was fucking high school drama, dropout drama stuff. It was just bad. It was really, really bad. It was some of the worst drama class shit. It was like one-act play bullshit, and I get it. Okay, it's not easy to, make yourself cry, but just fucking, get upset, get angry, do this kind of stuff. Just don't do that because you don't sound fearsome or upset or sympathetic or anything. It just didn't fucking work. It did not work for me, and most of the time, the Young Bucks really bore me or even irritate me. Now we go, number 8, Kenny Omega. Yes, I recognize Kenny Omega has put on some good matches, maybe even great matches in the eyes of many fans in AEW. I liked his match against Pac. I hated the match he had against Moxley at Full Gear. And yes, him and Page put on some pretty good matches as tag team champions. Omega is capable of putting on good performances and good matches. His series of matches with Okada, Tomohiro Ishii in the G1 Climax 28, and a few others. The match with Tanahashi at Wrestle Kingdom 13 wasn't bad. But since coming to AEW, people think, oh, well, he's just booking himself, like, where he's coasting on his laurels and he's going to turn into the cleaner and stuff like that. And I'm sorry, the cleaner thing never did anything for me. And I know people liked it, and that's fine. I'm not knocking anybody if they like this stuff. But I just never found Kenny Omega that interesting outside of that feud with Okada, except, those few matches I mentioned. He reminds me too much of the Ultimate Warrior, the antics and everything, and, the jazz hands and all that stuff. And a lot of times I just think, I was like, why the fuck is he there? What is wrong with him? Why does he have this weird hand movements and stuff like that? Why is he so strange? And also he needs to, justify why he didn't know about Chase and Rance when he ran some kind of show there a couple of years ago. Remember that? You remember that fucking bullshit? It was fucking ridiculous. It was absolutely atrocious. Seriously, don't associate with that piece of shit. Not Omega, Chase and Rance. What the fuck? Get people like that out of here. Out of wrestling, out of modern society, out of mainstream society. They don't fucking deserve a second chance at all. Kenny Omega, though, he can be good, but often I find him boring and even sometimes irritating. I don't believe any of his promos. I'm not going to believe anything he does, even when he wins the title from Moxley at Full Gear, which is probably the route they're going to go. Now we move on to number 7, Brody Lee in the Dark Order minus Anna Jay. I think Anna Jay has some promise. They just need to get her away from the group. Let me make it clear that Brody Lee and the other people that are in the Dark Order aren't necessarily bad wrestlers. Brody Lee is very bland, incredibly bland. He was even more bland than he was as part of the Bludgeon Brothers in WWE. And the Dark Order, sorry, I don't care for him. Evil cult or, the corporate ministry bullshit that they're doing here. This evil corporation stuff. It just isn't for me. It's just not. People like it, and apparently they're popular on Being the Elite. Great. I don't watch Being the Elite. I don't have enough time to fucking watch it. It's not to say it's bad. You can watch whatever the fuck you want. Anytime I've watched it, I haven't cared for it. But yeah, outside of Anna Jay, I don't really care for any of the Dark Order. You get these gimmicks off of them. Maybe you can make them, interesting pair, various, like, members, like, teaming up and stuff like that. Uno and Grayson aren't a bad team, but Brody is just so fucking boring. This thing with Colt's fucking stupid. What are they doing with Colt Cabana? Like, he had a pretty good, debut and everything, and then he's done absolutely nothing. Granted, the pandemic may have had something to do with that. But it's just, no, Dark Order's not interesting at all. Number 6, Jake Hager. Besides the fact that he's a climate change denying bullshit, artist and a Trumper and a piece of shit and everything, and it's clearly, been hit in the head one too many goddamn times. If I take away all that, because there are plenty that are like that in wrestling, even though they're goddamn idiots, and I don't care if people want to get upset. I'm stating my opinions because this country deserves to be saved, and Trump ain't gonna fucking do that, and you fucking know he's not gonna, so quit trying to justify your bigotry and fucking change. Moving on. Jake Hager is just bland. He's bland and boring. It's like untoasted white bread. He's like if you tried to toast white bread and it just sat there in the toaster and didn't age. Or all it did was age and, mold and stuff like that and it never developed. You can't toast it. It just kind of rots over time. He's not a bad athlete. He's just not interesting, and he wasn't interesting in WWE. And he's even less interesting here in AEW, which is saying something because he had an interesting debut. And then that's been it. That's been it. That's all they've fucking done with him. He's just been, a schlub, and he's not been really doing much of anything. Jake Hager just isn't all that interesting. And then we go to Chris Jericho. Pandemico, if you will. Look, Chris Jericho has more and more, eroded his fucking career and his goodwill and stuff like that. And I'm talking just stuff he's done in the ring. The Orange Cassidy feud. The Jerome thing was actually kind of funny. But stuff with Matt Hardy was ridiculous. Jericho has unraveled so much. And it physically, promo-wise, his screaming on commentary first was funny, and now he's just a fucking goof. I don't buy into anything that Chris Jericho does. And also then the outside shit of, him being a goddamn idiot. I mean, a real goddamn idiot. I mean, I'm not too surprised he had Trump Jr. on his goddamn podcast, so I should have known that there was something a little bit off about the guy. Even though freedom of speech, you can do what the fuck you want, and guess what? People like me can criticize you if we want. I will say that Jericho has done a lot of good in wrestling. Not a lot of it has been in AEW. Once he lost the championship, it was all over. And even then, leading up to that point of him losing the championship, for about a month, he was starting to do some goofy shit. And now it's like, okay, he's never going to be AEW champion again, especially not after losing to Orange Cassidy twice. But seriously, Jericho, what the fuck? What the fuck? Why? It's like he's out of shape. He is horribly out of shape. He looks like he's approaching 270. He is just living the rock star lifestyle. He's not a young man anymore. He's not somebody that can burn off this shit. He needs to get where he's in better shape because he can't even do half of the moves they used to. He tries to do the lion salt anymore. I guarantee you he's almost going to land on his head. And I don't want him to do that. I don't want anything bad to happen to him. But he's horribly out of shape. He's blown up. He couldn't even do anything in the Mimosa Mayhem match. Not that anybody even in shape could have saved that dumpster fire. But yeah, Jericho is just, he's a fucking irritant on TV and in real life, honestly. He's proven himself to be a pretty big piece of shit. So, moving on to number 4. Now we get to the bad workers. Michael Naka. I fucking hate Nakazawa. As a person, no. Hate the fucking baby oil thing. Hate it. Absolutely hate it. That's it. That's really all I can say. I don't care that he's Kenny Omega's best friend. It's fucking embarrassing this guy has a contract with a mainstream American promotion. He may be a nice guy. Maybe if he could work. They take the fucking, oil and shit like that and everything and stop and take the antics away. If he could work, maybe I might actually buy into it. No, I wouldn't, but at least it would be less insulting. Speaking of insulting, number 3, Marco Stunt. Marco Stunt should not be allowed in a wrestling ring. At least as a wrestler. You want to use him where Luchasaurus tosses him. Tosses a little midget, a little dwarf at, opponents and everything, and then does his own move off the ropes. Or Jungle Boy does a dive and everything. Okay, fine. But putting Marco Stunt in any kind of competitive match is fucking bullshit. And he even beat Nakazawa on an episode of AEW Dark. In a match that I swear to God made me question why I kept watching that show. Like, that was really, really embarrassing. It should have never made air. But that being said, apparently Marco's a nice guy. Cool. Okay, he shouldn't be a fucking wrestler. Marco Stunt's embarrassing. Number 2, also embarrassing, Joey Janela. Joey Janela, for somebody that apparently has not been trained in wrestling, and by Christ does it show, somehow managed to get a contract with AEW. And I don't fucking get how anybody could sign this guy and think that he's any good. Apparently he had something to do with training Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy must have just been a goddamn natural at it because there's no way he could have learned anything from Joey Janela. And a lot of people can't even defend Joey. He's not any good. He's fucking right. He's gotten worse in the ring. He looks like Jericho, like 20 years younger. He really does. He's that out of shape. He's that goofy. He's balding already. And I know something about balding. But again, I'm not a pro wrestler out there doing all this shit. I'll make fun of myself, mock myself and everything and stuff like that. But I don't, try to be a wrestler. And Joey Janela should not try to be a wrestler. He's fucking rotten. He's terrible. He's terrible on promos. Sonny Kiss is carrying that goddamn team. Joey Janela's fucking rotten. Number 1, Brandy Rhodes. Okay, let's get this out of the way right here. Cody's Nepotism Project, a.k.a. Brandy Rhodes. Brandy Rhodes is an embarrassment to women's wrestling. She's an embarrassment to women in wrestling. As far as being somebody behind the scenes doing some shit and whatever, cool, whatever. She can do that kind of shit. Stephanie McMahon at least was born into wrestling. What has Brandy done? Brandy has just managed to marry a guy that now has suddenly an executive vice president with the company. Brandy is a fine ring announcer. She should not be in the ring. She should not cut any promos. She shouldn't get any TV time because her action figure is more lifelike than a real person. Brandy Rhodes is just fucking terrible. Let me say that again. Fucking terrible. She has gotten worse in the ring. Yeah, she had a broken collarbone. She came back from that. The racism shit needs to fucking stop. Because there's plenty of other, real reasons to, pick on her. Like the fact she sucks in the ring. Like the fact she can't talk her way out of a goddamn paper bag. Like the fact that Allie has been drugged down to her level. Like that AEW Women's Tag Team Tournament. Where Allie and Brandy should have been eliminated in the first round and everything. It didn't create any drama by having Ivelisse and Diamante beat them. When it should have taken Ivelisse and Diamante... Even though Ivelisse has got her own demons and everything, mental health, probably something you need to take care, you need to take seriously, Ivelisse, you goddamn idiot. But also, Brandy Rhodes having to be in the finals and not even taking the pin was fucking abhorrent. And the fact that, you had the Nightmare Collective, you had all this stuff, and yeah, they got rid of that. And now she's Cody's wife and everything. Cody was laid out for a while before we saw him promote that Go Big Show or whatever the fuck it is. Go Big Show. It's like Go Tiger. It's like a really bad Tiger Mask version for the Big Show. But anyway, Brandy Rhodes is just fine. Brandy Rhodes was up pretty soon after getting choked out by Anna Jay, and she's suddenly fine. Oh, I'm gonna get you, Anna Jay. Calling it Brody Lee, Daddy Lee, or Daddy Brody. It's like that's great. That's great, Brandy. You have the charisma of a freaking used vacuum or a used tampon. Actually, that's wrong. A used tampon actually would have served a goddamn purpose. Brandy Rhodes does not serve a damn purpose. She doesn't. She fucking makes me wish that Sable was back on TV. Do you know how bad you have to be to make me wish that Sable was back on TV? Fuck. Brandy Rhodes is terrible. Anyway, agree, disagree with what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Retlin. I'll see you soon.